Finally, something has happened. After the online uproar against the pricing of the Switch 2, Nintendo is feeling the pressure to do something about it, but the response doesn't look too good for us. I'm gonna go over what Nintendo has said, why I think this is like a pretty bad thing for the whole industry, at least for us, the consumers, and also where this weird $90 physical edition for a Mario Kart game came from, which is a very weird situation. But before that, let's start from the beginning, in case some of you don't really know what is going on. Last week we finally got the Switch 2 Direct, which had to be one of the most anticipated announcements in the gaming industry in a very long time. There they showed the new Mario Kart, looks beautiful. They also showed a new 3D Donkey Kong, looks awesome, and many more cool things. It was incredible in almost all aspects. What was weirdly missing this 1 hour long presentation was any mention of prices. It wasn't until the whole presentation was over that they actually talked about the prices on their own website, and it was not great. As you probably all know, the Switch 2 is going to cost $450 on its own or $500 with the new Mario Kart bundle, assuming that there are not a lot of changes with this tariff stuff. Now, I don't want to come here and start defending an $86 billion corporation just because I really like Mario's little but very well rendered mustache. Oh, baby. But I don't really think that this pricing is that bad. Now, before you start hating on me, hear me out. Maybe it's because I've been burned before with the insanity of the $750 PS5 Pro. Maybe it's because the prices of the new generation of graphic cards, even the mid-tier ones, is just absolutely insane. Or maybe it's because the Switch 2 does seem to run and look much better than I expected. But $500 for a new console and a game on top of it doesn't seem like a horrible price to me. In an ideal world, the Switch 2 would cost $400, which is what we all wanted to cost, to be honest, but then we would have to pay $70 for an extra game, in this case Mario Kart, so $470 is not too different from the $500 it's actually costing. Sure, it's $30 more, but at the end of the day, it's not a huge price increase. What I'm actually really frustrated about is the price of the games. And if any of you start justifying it because of like, oh, inflation, oh, the prices of everything is going up, they need to increase the prices to make money, oh, no. Stop it. Nintendo's stock has multiplied almost 9 times from the Wii U era, and they did it by selling a console very cheaply and having their games cost $60. Them jumping into the bandwagon of the $70 games is just pure greed, not because they actually need it. And that's not cool for me. Now, Donkey Kong Bonanza is going to cost the $70, which, yeah, okay, is not great. But the thing that is just absolutely insanity is that Mario Kart Worlds will be $80. Let me pause here for a second and let's talk about the pricing in Europe, because that's its own thing. There were early reports that said that physical games for the Switch 2 would be $10 more expensive than the digital ones, making the new Mario Kart cost $90 reduced if you wanted it in a cartridge. This pricing was later debunked in the US since nobody could actually find Mario Kart for $90. Everywhere was $80. Where this price was correct though was from the Nintendo European sites, where it still says to this day that Mario Kart World costs $89.99 if you wanna get it from their store. Okay, so for whatever reason, the physical games in Europe are going to cost €10 more than the digital ones, right? No, wrong. Welcome to the confusion, baby. European retailers are starting to accept pre-orders for the games and the console, at least here in the Netherlands. And one of the biggest ones is listing the same Mario Kart physical edition as €79, not 90. I can actually pre-order these right now, so I don't believe that this is an error or that the price is going to change in a few days. Donkey Kong pricing, by the way, is the same as the digital version, €69. So I don't know if Nintendo just wants to make some extra money from their European website, or if they have some kind of agreement with the retailers here in Europe that forces them to have their games a little bit more expensive to not compete against them, or if their pricing is just wrong for some reason. But at least one of the biggest complaints that I had about this Switch 2, which was that the physical games here were going to be more expensive than the digital ones, that is not happening, at least not for now. So hey, that's pretty good news. Okay, and now let's go back to the ranting. Either way, the new Mario Kart costing $80, what is going on? My very little optimistic part of me wants to believe that they only wanted to do this for this specific game. Let's be honest, most people who want to buy the console will also buy the bundle, since buying the game on its own is just not a great idea. And just by doing this little trick, Nintendo can then go back to the investors and be like, guys, this new Mario Kart game has sold gangbusters, this is incredible. Sure, it's a bit of an anti-consumer move, but at least it would mean that the rest of the games will be priced more normally, right? But no. Sadly, that's not the reason. In an interview, the vice president of Nintendo of America said about the $80 Mario Kart game, and I quote, "This is a game that is so big and so vast, and you will find so many little things in it to discover. And there's still some other secrets remaining that I think as people end up buying and playing the game, they're going to find that this is probably the richest Mario Kart experience they've ever had." A bit of a translation here from corporate speech to normal speech. They are saying that they want to charge $80 because they can. Look, in a perfect world, maybe this is a great logic, and it could even mean good things for us, the the consumers. Sure, some games might be 80, but then others will be 20 or 30, right? Last generation, Nintendo launched a bunch of smaller games at full price, like Luigi's Mansion 3, or the remake of Zelda Link's Awakening. Games that by this new logic, if you objectively look at them and see how much they offer, they should be priced way less than something like, for example, Breath of the Wild. But there is no way that they're doing that. They will use this to justify increasing the price, but never to actually reduce the price of other games. The baseline for their titles will be $60 or $70, and then the new 3D Mario or the new 3D Zelda will probably be $80. And let's hope that their strategy doesn't work extremely well for them, because then I wouldn't be surprised to see games being like, I don't know, $90, $100, why not, right? Also, there is no way that this is not going to affect the rest of the gaming market. Companies like Rockstar are now looking at this happening and thinking, well, if Nintendo charges $80 for Mario Kart, why can't we just charge more for GTA 6? It's definitely going to be bigger and several times more expensive to make than any other game in history, so why not charge way more for it? It is a slippery slope that I don't think is going to work too well for us. Also, I don't know about you, but do you really feel that Nintendo is going to be fair with prices? I mean, this is the company that has literally announced an interactive manual with mini games similar to those that I actually played for free on my browser 20 years ago. And instead of making it free for everyone who buys their already kind of pricey console, no, they expect us to spend $10 for it. I'm sorry, Nintendo, but I don't really trust your little greedy hands when it comes to pricing stuff. And the worst of it all is that this situation is just frustrating for everyone. For years as a community, we've been waiting for the moment where the Switch 2 was finally announced. This Direct, when it comes to the actual content, was everything that I was expecting. And it seems that most people's initial reaction was the same. Everyone was excited and really looking forward to all of these games, and it was really cool. And when all the pricing stuff was announced, the sentiment towards the Switch 2 was just soured. And now we are at a point where we have all this negativity in a time where we should all be hyped to finally be playing this thing that we've all been waiting for so long. The good news, at least, is that the Switch 2 in itself does look amazing. It's just the pricing that is kind of off. This has already happened with the 3DS, which wasn't selling too well at launch, and then a year later they slashed the prices, and it ended up selling pretty well in the end. Nintendo is in this for the long run, probably for the next 7 to 8 years or so. So a rocky start can be disappointing, but it can always be fixed, as long as the company understands that they effed up, which I'm not sure they're going to do, at least not soon. It's me from the future, and while I was editing the video, two major things have happened. The first one is that apparently the tariffs are going to be paused for the next 90 days or so. Not sure what this means when it comes to the price of the console, or if you guys are going to be able to pre-order it now, but at least it's better than nothing. And secondly, Bowser has spoken. Not that Bowser, but the other Bowser. Yeah, the president of Nintendo of America. He has said the following. As we look at the Nintendo Switch 2 and you think about the feature sets that I talked about, we believe that the pricing is appropriate for the value of the machine and the gameplay experience overall. We recognize there are some people that may not be able to afford the Switch 2's price point. That's why we wanted to make the other Switch platforms available, so people can still have an opportunity to come into our gaming universe, be a part of these characters in these worlds, and see value, if you will, in whatever rank of the platform they come in. Long story short, what they are saying is, yep, we're not going to change the prices. If you cannot buy it now, you have to wait for it or buy the old console that is 8 years old. We don't care about it. So yeah, I don't think they're going to change the pricing anytime soon, but who knows what's going to happen in the future. Back to the video. And what do you think about all of this? Are you actually planning to buy a Switch 2? I've been ranting for a while about this console, but I also have to admit that I have bought it. So hopefully I will be able to make more videos about this console when it comes in a couple of months. If you like this type of videos, please let me know in the comments, and you can always subscribe, of course.